Hello, and welcome again to Warp 9 Wrap-Up. I almost screwed up really badly again today and didn't hit record.
I had to remind him to hit record.
Damn, man. This is what happens when you come in on your day off and try to do something for the people. But hey, you know what? It's sunshine in Michigan for the first time, what feels like forever.
I know.
Things are good. Hopefully your week is good. If you haven't joined us before, this is Warp 9 Wrap-Up, live from Warp 9 Comics. We kind of go over some of the stuff that we got this week, stuff that we like, stuff that, you know, we don't really hate on anything. We just kind of talk about things that we think are cool. It's the only show like it on the internet, period. Nobody's ever done a show like this.
Nothing ever like this.
Even if you're subscribed to another show like this, you can go ahead and unsubscribe them because there's nothing.
Because they don't
like
actually, they don't,
never been
they don't
like
exist.
This. It's just crazy. But first things, I think we should probably talk about our new employee. We got a new employee here at Warp 9. They'll be on the show from time to time, mostly hanging out in the background. Everyone say hello to Princeton. Princeton A. Porg. The A stands for awesome. Yep, that's what it is. It's one of those gigantic Funko Pop Porgs. And no, you can't buy him. He's Dan's. Dan bought him. But he's going to hang out. I'm going to put him behind the counter and make pop collectors really mad because they're going to want to buy him. And you can't buy him because he's an employee. And then I've already gotten permission from Trey. I'm gonna get a little nest, and then I'm gonna like randomly put them on like the shelves that are like in corners and stuff.
You need to get like two of them,
yeah.
like normal size pops.
That's the plan, and like the little ones on the thing there. So it'll be great because like one week you'll see him over in the corner, and the next week he'll be over in the other corner, and you'll be like, what the hell? It'll be just like Star Wars, you know, the movie you all hate for some reason.
I know, right?
So yes, everyone give a warm Warp 9 welcome to Princeton A. Porg. The A stands for awesome. So we're gonna kick things off a little differently this week. Typically we do like the collectibles and stuff, but obviously there's one thing we got to talk about right quick, mainly because it is a huge deal. Action Comics hit number 1,000 this week. It's the first time ever. I know some people are like, that's not true because they did this and that and the other Earths and that. It's actually 1,300. Shut up. No, it's Action Comics 1,000. Started in 1938 when Superman was born. The thing that we're going to kind of go over just real quick, and then we'll go over the book, is just Superman is one of the most iconic things in the world. Not just the United States. I know he's a United States creation in New York by Schuster and Siegel. It's just kind of funny how much people didn't really realize he kind of resonates with immigrants because he is technically an illegal immigrant.
He's an actual alien, guys.
He's an actual alien, but he's an immigrant. You know, he came from a different place and came here to the United States. He didn't have paperwork or anything. No. And then, you know, he's raised by a Midwestern farm family who taught him, you know, the values of Midwestern Americans. You know, you help out smaller people. You help out others in trouble, and you do your best to try to remain positive while you can. It's not where we are now as a country, unfortunately, but I like to feel like with things like Superman and other superheroes in comics, I feel like we can get back to there if we just get kind of back to basics a little bit.
Yeah.
Superman, to me, there's a picture, and I've kind of tweeted the picture out. It's been a long time since I've shown it. There's a picture of me that my mom took me when I was about like 3 years old, and I'm wearing my Superman shirt. It's a white shirt, the big Superman emblem, and then I got my towel, the cape. You know what I mean? First time anybody had ever tied a cape on me, and I was like, this is the greatest day of my life. Like, I have a cape. I am goddamn Superman. You know? I mean, every kid has had that. You know what I mean? And it just clicked where I'm like, oh my God. You know? So I'm like flying around the house and stuff. So there's a picture of me then. And it's just so funny that it's come full circle when I moved back to Michigan, and now I work in comics. And, you know, it's a gigantic part of my life. And it's been off and on with comics with like the love-hate thing. I've never hated comics. It's just sometimes I didn't make enough money to read comics. And the funny thing is with me and Superman, when I was a kid, I was always a big fan of Superman. You know, when you're a little kid, you love Superman because he's Superman. You know what I mean? He represents the good in all things. And then when I got older, you know, you kind of get jaded a little bit, and you're like, oh, Superman's boring. He's just, you know, he's just too squeaky clean. He's too overpowered, da-da-da-da-da. And then I get to the point where I'm like now, where I got a lot more respect for the whole Superman thing. And I have a ton of respect for the writers who write Superman, because when you write something that's that overpowered and trying to be positive about everything and see the right side of everything, it's a challenge. You know, it's really easy to make them just be like, Superman punched him into the moon and that was the end of it. You know what I mean? And like, that was the end. And he went home and he ate some apple pie and it was fun, you know, and bald eagles in the background. And, you know, it's like super easy. It's an incredible challenge to make you care about Superman and the other side of things. That's why you get something like Superman for All Seasons. That was the Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale thing. And it's an old thing. We don't have it in stock right now because I sold it last week. But it was a mini series that was very much just about Superman at his core, which is really important. And to me, Superman still, now I'm in my 30s, represents the good of all things. I really feel like that's where the movies are a little bit disappointing because it's just so dark. We're now getting the Superman that we should. But Christopher Reeve represents like such a great Superman. He had a little bit of humor in there, and he wore the underwear on the outside of the tights, which is back, and it makes me so happy. My only complaint about the Action 1000 launch is I saw a bunch of like YouTubers and reviewers and like places. They got little gift packs from DC, and it had like the issue, and then it had some trunks. My only complaint about this, DC can do whatever they want to promote the buck. As retailers, we give you guys hundreds of thousands of dollars. Sending us something like that every now and again wouldn't kill you. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, they're trying to drum up things for the book, and it did work. We had a lot of people come into the shop, and they were like, "Oh, I saw this on the news last night, and it's a special issue or something." Saw a lot of new faces, which is great. That means they were sending out press releases. They were really pushing this thing, which like, bravo. Love that. It's the same thing they did with Rebirth when DC did that, and they were running television commercials. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I mean, that was like,
they actually ran television commercials for Doomsday Clock.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
They kept coming on the TV, and I had the TV in the background for like background noise, and then I would be like, Doomsday Clock, and I was
that
like,
tells me that Jeff Johns' new position, not only at DC but also in Warner Brothers, I think they're really pushing that more, where it's like, hey, we have this outlet, why not use it?
Yeah.
And it does get people with eyes on the product. So I mean, I before we get into the whole Superman thing, I just want to commend DC for saying that this book was going to come out on a certain day. They're like, it's gonna be huge. We're gonna add all these different names to it. It didn't get delayed. There was one confusing thing where they wanted to do a hardcover at first, and that kind of got scrapped. But I understand.
But
it was just like a little bit weird. But it didn't screw up anything.
That was like really early enough, and they changed it quick enough, and then they stuck with their changes.
Yeah.
Quick enough that like it wasn't a big deal.
And then they decided to do 8 different variants, which a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, it's an $8 book with 8 different variants." But it was true to the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. That's the way they did the variants, and each variant was drawn in that style. And you could look at the books immediately and be like, "Okay, yeah, that's definitely from the 1990s. That's definitely from the 30s." They did such a great job.
Yeah.
And so I commend everybody at DC, all the editors, everybody involved in the Superman, the Action Comics 1000. It was a tremendous achievement. You guys did a great job, and the book itself is very, very fun.
Yeah.
It hits a lot of the right notes. I mean, you're talking about several moving parts with this thing. You got lots of different artists, lots of different writers, and in the end, you have the big, Bendis wrote the last thing, which is going to lead into his Man of Steel run, which was really cool.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, hey, we're all working on this thing, and we're hitting all these notes, and we got these little stories, and it's really cool. And then you bring in the big gun, the guy that they're super happy to sign, and he really wants to do Superman. And they're like, and here's what we're going to do in the future. So it was a nice little story arc inside of the book, and I was very impressed. And as a retailer, I just want to say thanks to DC. Thank you to the Siegel and Schuster family for continuing to be continue to be awesome and allow Superman in everybody's homes. And let's just hope we can get it going with DC Films here and get back the Superman that we all need on the film.
Seriously.
On the big screen. But
please and thank you.
it looks like they're making the strides in the film. So
they're working on it.
We'll see. And I think Henry Cavill is actually a good Superman, especially after the last movie. I'm like, yeah, he really feels like Superman. He's just not given the words. He's not given the proper direction, or a lot of people blame the actors. It's like, look, man, it's a job. They give you a script. Yeah. They have to do that. They're not in charge of everything.
Speaking as an actress, if you could be the greatest actor or actress in the world. If you're given a crappy script and crappy directions, nothing will turn out good.
True.
There's no way you can pull off a piece of crap and shine it into a diamond. Sorry, guys.
Have you ever been a Superman fan?
I wouldn't say to the same extent as you. I love Superman personally for the fact that he, in my eyes, is kind of the father of superheroes.
Okay.
He's the first standout, real superhero that had the idea of, like, doing things because it's right for the people, that whole idea, and he kind of, the whole Superman comics and everything, he kind of paved the way for the rest of comics and superheroes, which makes me really happy because we all know I love superheroes because I work here.
Well, yeah.
I mean, how can you not?
Well, otherwise, you've been playing. You've been doing a good job of faking it.
Fake it till you make it.
There you go.
But yeah, that's where I sit with Superman, is I love him solely because he paved the way for everyone else.
Did you get a chance to read the book?
I did read it.
And what'd you think?
I loved it. I especially loved the first kind of little story they put in there. Just the gratitude of everyone giving it and showing that Superman is so stuck in the idea of, like, he doesn't want to show up.
He doesn't want thank you, and they decided to have a Superman Day, and they brought back the big statue. Yeah, and that's awesome. I love that statue. You know, it's just an iconic little piece of Superman lore.
And I love how it shows that Superman doesn't. He keeps saying, like, I don't do this for everyone to throw me parties and thank me and this, that, and the other thing. But then they all kind of convince him that you don't do this for this, but that doesn't mean the people don't want to give this to you. I mean, you save their lives every day. You give them things that no one else could give them.
Doesn't mean they can't thank you for it.
They want to thank you, so you should let them.
The other great thing about this book is you see several different versions of the suit, you know, so they even go back to the old suit with the black in the middle. It's hard to see there with the glare. But they go through just about every iteration that you can think of. It doesn't look like they gave him the mullet, though.
No.
They decided not to do the mullet. And Grant Morrison's weird run where he was blue and shot lightning out of his tuchus or whatever. They didn't really step on that a little bit, which I was kind of okay with. But it was fun, and it was also they did the whole, like, Superman birthday thing, and there was a lot of feels in there. It was good stuff, and like I said, towards the end we got we even got a Mixoplex story, which is kind of important because it's such an old property, but. For the most part, though, I'm not usually a big fan of the big oversized, like, anniversary issues, because there's usually stuff in there that I feel like is very much just not necessary and just kind of a throwaway. Not with this book. This book was really important. I'm happy to see so many people picking it up. We understand an $8 price point. It's a lot of money. Think about our side of things. We ordered, it's an $8 book that we ordered almost 250 copies of, so we have a lot of money in this book too.
Yes.
So we feel you, people. When it's $8 and people get upset, oh, trust us, we feel you. Because it hurts us first before it hurts you guys. But I was really impressed with it. I'm really, really happy to see so many people coming in just want to check it out because they heard it on the local news station or radio or stuff. So great stuff. So happy 80th, Mr. Superman.
Yay,
May there be
80th.
80 more. I won't be around to see it, but that's probably because I died. Ooh, that got dark. That got dark in a hurry, huh? Hopefully of old age.
I want to make a joke about how
it's
dark
dying?
because it's the DC universe.
Yeah. Boy, they got Frank Miller 80s really fast. So anyway, on with the show.
Yes.
What would you like to grab first? Not a whole lot of collectibles this week, just a few things. We can kind of get through it a little bit quick. From the Good Smile Company, our friends in Japan. This is the Nendoroid line, and it's just kind of little cutesy, like, Japanese figures. They're actually really fun. There's a lot of people who like these, but this is obviously Wonder Woman. So a little cutesy figure. They do set you back about $60, but they usually come with a couple of different faces. I don't know if this one does. Yeah, it does. Okay.
Yeah, she comes with
They usually
two.
come with like a couple different faces, and then she's got her lasso and her shield, and they are posable, which is really fun. You think a figure that tiny wouldn't be very posable, but you can do a lot of stuff with her.
She has her stern face and then her angry face. Just like
that's how I look all day. It's just two faces. It's normal face, and then here's your change. So
it's really hard to work with him, guys.
So it'll set you back about $60. But there's a huge line of these. They even just solicited us for the Witcher from The Witcher 3, Geralt of Rivia. They're gonna do that for a Nendoroid, and yes, this guy got that one.
I do
The Witcher
like
is like my favorite thing.
How they have her gauntlets like normal, and then they have the arms that you can attach to where her gauntlets
she
are
can
like
be
this,
crossed,
and
yeah.
they're they actually are painted brighter
glowing.
so they look like they're glowing. I do like that a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure they knew a lot of people were going to want to do this, and it's not with this kind of figure. It's not possible without getting different like shoulder joints, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So they just said screw it and did that. So understandable.
Okay, let's stick with DC.
From the DC Direct line, this is a statue. It's about 125 bones. It's from the Joelle Jones CoverGirl designer statues. This is a Supergirl. I did get one of these for myself. It is absolutely gorgeous. It's fantastic. I've really been digging this Joelle Jones line, but they are expensive. We did get the Harley. I think we've shown off of the show before.
Oh, Harley.
And we will get the Batgirl in the future. The Batgirl I really like because it's got a really cool pose.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it's just different. I like when they do different stuff.
She's taking a selfie.
Yeah. Yeah, she's
It
like
makes
doing
me
that.
happy.
And click. The cool thing about this Supergirl is I like how much they instituted the cape. I always like when they institute the cape in designs where they're either holding the cape or they're like, you know, the cape is flowing. I just think it works so much better for a figure than to be standing still. There's a lot more motion to it, so I really feel like you get your money's worth. So, yep, we do have one of these, 125 bones plus tax, but they are awesome.
Yes, they is.
Is that the last thing?
This is the last thing.
Okay, from the Mezco 112 line, we have Spiderman. No, it's not Spider-Man Homecoming. That one is not out yet. I don't believe we're getting that one until the fall. But it's the regular Spider-Man. These figures are awesome. We showed them all the time on this show. This one's great, though. You see how many different webs it comes with. Lots of different hands. It's very posable. I've already talked to a few people who had theirs that they ordered through Mezco, and they love them. They're like, man, this thing is like one of the better Spider-Man figures. So I really like it a lot. You know, it's just a difference if you like just pure plastic or if you like the vinyl and like cloth, you know, body to it, because that's what this is. It's like vinyl and cloth. And now we get to watch little T try to put this thing back on again, which is always a good time because it just doesn't usually happen very well. All eyes on you, man. Would you like some help?
No!
You sure?
I got it.
You sure?
I'm sure.
Oh man, that side's gonna come off. Yeah, see?
Leave me
Told
alone.
you. Anyway, while we have this break here, I just want to ask you guys, how are you doing? You look good. You look healthy. Yeah. Did you lose weight? Working out? Stick with it, man. It's looking good. You're looking great. Look at that, just in time. So anyway, moving on to the comics.
Thank you for your patience.
Yeah. Do you want to kick us off with some Marvel? Because we already kind of did action, so.
Okay. So, Marvel this week came
Big
out
deal.
with X-Men Gold. Dun, da, da, da.
What number is it?
Number 26.
26.
It is Till Death Do Us Part, Part 1. As you can see on the cover, there is a marriage coming.
Yep. And he doesn't pop the question in this. He's already kind of popped the question. They already did that a couple issues ago.
That's already kind of happened, but this is kind of addressing the fact that they've been delaying things for a while.
Yeah.
Which has kind of brought up static between Colossus and Kitty, and just kind of like...
I think it's just making them both nervous.
Yeah, they're both getting a little...
The pre-wedding jitters, you know?
Yeah.
Who among us hasn't had the pre-wedding jitters? Me? Oh, you've been married before?
No.
Were you like 14 or something?
No.
So one of those like compounds in Utah?
No.
How many other wives were there?
I have a wife.
Oh, that's cool.
My friend Gabby is my quote-unquote wife. But anyway, this book, I kind of really enjoyed it because a lot of the time with X-Men books is they're really heavy worded. And there's a lot more word bubbles than, like, most comics.
It's a lot of characters.
And that's why. It's because there's so many characters to follow,
parts.
and dyslexia brain. It's hard to follow with a lot of words, especially when they're so jumbled together. But this was easier to go through. It was a little bit slower than most X-Men comics, but it worked.
Setting the tone for the rest of the story.
Yeah, it's setting the tone of how everything's kind of being dragged out for them, which makes you kind of feel what they're feeling. And I approve of that. It does also address the fact that Iceman has brought an
Brotherhood
of evil mutants into his own little team. And it kind of addresses the whole idea of, like, if somebody has been evil once before, should they be given a second chance?
Which is funny, because pretty much everybody in the X-Men has been evil at one point in time. So,
like, they address it
glass
again.
house. Stop
Yeah.
throwing them stones.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it's great, and I honestly, because I love these two so much, I'm just happy that this is finally coming around.
Yeah, somebody was trying to pour the haterade on that yesterday, man. They were like, oh, when they met, this thing was gross, and she was like 12 and he was like 19. I was like, what? It's not.
I mean,
they're not that far apart in age. Come on now.
Not really. She was
I don't
under
know if they ever
18,
addressed it,
but he wasn't that much older than her.
Yeah, still statutory rape in New York. The writer is Mark Guggenheim, artist Michelle Bandini, colorist Arif Peranto. The flashback artist was David Marquez, the flashback colorist with Matthew Wilson, and VC's Corey Pettit was the letterer. So, to Death Do Us Part, it is the beginning of a big wedding.
X-Men Gold number 20.
Colossus.
3 or 29?
Shadowcat.
26. I was wrong.
23, 29, you had it. It's just that, I just did the backflip, so we're going to talk about a kid's comic.
Yeah.
Because we, never do that here.
Because we don't really talk about kids' comics, and this was cute. Superhero Adventures number 1. So this is the start of kind of Marvel's new kind of kids run that they're going to be doing.
Oh, I'm sure there's probably toys tied into this too.
Oh, I guarantee.
the
way that the cartoony kind of drawing looks like toys that already exist.
I think the last time they did the Supergirl thing like this, there was toys at like Target.
Yeah.
Stuff, so.
Well, this one kind of, it's definitely a kid's comic. It's definitely slap you in the face. Here is the moral of the story. They tell you the moral of the story literally within like the first 2 pages, and then
supposed to slap you in the face for kids.
Slap you in the face with it again at the end. But I mean, it's for kids.
I mean, how did they change up a lot of the stuff, like bigger lettering and things too?
Yeah,
a little bit. Yep.
What I thought was
sentences.
interesting was the fact that at the beginning, in the end, the art is actually different than the middle. The art is similar to how like normal comics are for like T and T+ ratings, in which it has a little bit more of that comic style, while in the middle, which is the story Spider-Man is telling to one of the bad guys, is cartoony, kind of like, I mean, how you would tell a story to a kid is you make it kind of cutesy, you sugarcoat it. So I feel like that kind of plays into how they decided to lay out the book. And I thought it was a cute way to do it. It's a cute book. Spider-Man teams up with Black Panther, and like, who doesn't want that team up? I know I love that team up because I love both of them, but...
Yeah, it says right in front. Starring Spider-Man and Black Panther.
Ta-da!
Superhero Adventures.
Yeah, so if you got a kid and you think, you know what, I want to get this kid into comics.
Or maybe you're just tired of the same old humdrum. Let's say we got a Squirrel Girl backup story too.
I love Squirrel
Which
Girl.
is more of a text thing.
Yeah, it's more of kind of like a little
it's a sneak peek for one of the Superhero Adventures chapter books.
It's about one of the new books that's going to be out.
Yeah, the chapter books are pretty cool, especially for kids to start learning to read.
So cute.
Pictures and whatnot.
Learning to read. I'm still doing that.
You'll get there one day.
Hey, I finished my first novel in under a week.
Thank dog for that.
I'm dyslexic. Just BT dubs. I'm pretty sure I've said that before.
You just said it like...
I did, didn't I?
15 minutes ago.
I'm so scatterbrained
I cannot
today.
find the info for this freaking thing, man. I don't know if they do it for the kids' books.
I guess
Maybe not. It says McCann and Brazulia or something like that. So it's on the bottom. So yeah, check it out. Get it for your kid. Get it for yourself. Who cares? You know what I mean? Know what I mean, Brian?
Like, you do you, bro.
Just a couple of quick DC things, because obviously we rattled on about the Action Comics 1000. That was really important. Justice League number 43 is the end of the Justice Lost storyline. The Justice League has, the Watchtower has crashed. It is in the middle of an African nation that is in the middle of a civil war. They're trying to get the stuff, and people, like, the government's threatening rebels, and da-da-da-da-da. Justice League's caught in the middle of all this, and they're just like, look, this doesn't concern you should get out. Cyborg is the current leader of the team, and now they've come head-to-head with Deathstroke. And I always like when Deathstroke's written as a really badass villain, because hand-to-hand and tactics-wise, he's, like, one of the most powerful villains in the DCU, because he does have a genius intellect, and then also he has... increased speed and strength, and the tactics thing is a big one. So it's always fun to see him kind of turn their stuff on their on their heads, you know, like he fights Cyborg and he figures out a way to kind of short circuit them and stuff. It's really fun read, but this is going to be it for this current Justice League crew, because they're going to come into Justice League No Justice, which is very soon, and then after that we're going to get a Justice League relaunch, which I'm perfectly okay with. But I really like this run. It was Christopher Priest's final issue. I loved Christopher Priest on this book. Anything he does is absolutely fantastic, and yeah. So check it out. I know it's the end of it, but they're going to be doing a collected trade paperback soon, and I just wanted to say that I really liked the I really loved Christopher Priest's run on this book. So for the final issue, it was Priest on a script. Pete Woods was the art and color. Willie Shue was the letter. David Yardin was the cover artist. J.G. Jones did a variant. All that stuff. So yeah, if you like Deathstroke, man, this is a great issue for you, because you get to watch him just wipe the floor with everybody. Batman number 45 is the start of The Gift, part 1. After this story arc, I think is when we're going to start getting into the wedding stuff. This issue is out there, man. It starts off following Booster Gold, and Booster Gold is in a different kind of like fractured timeline. And in the first couple of pages, spoiler alert, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's definitely a hook for the book, it shows us as the reader looking at Green Lantern, and Green Lantern is talking to Booster Gold, and he talks about how with the ring, the power ring, you can't harm yourself with it because it's all about willpower and it's one of the rules of the ring. And then he says, but through sheer willpower, you should make this ring do anything. And then he puts the ring up to his head and he blows his brains out, which is like fucking crazy, you know? Like it's like the first 2 pages, and it's like, what is going on here that Green Lantern would just kill himself, you know? And it just continues to devolve into this crazy new timeline, and just things are super dark and out there, and it's yeah, man, I can see some people kind of bristling to the storyline, but so far it's really cool, and it's a storyline where Batman isn't Batman, and you know, Martha's still alive, and there's a lot of moving parts to this, but Tom King continues on his absolutely epic run, man. I mean, it's been something else. It's been really good. So I was really impressed with this first issue. It's a bit confusing, and it's out there a little bit. I am not a Booster Gold fan by any stretch of the imagination. So whenever you say Booster Gold to me, I kind of roll my eyes a little bit because I'm like, eh. But I really like this storyline so far. It was really cool. Those first 2 pages are like, wow.
Apparently, Batman says Booster Gold must die.
There you go. There's that too. And the thing is that Bruce Wayne in the suit?
'Tis it? We don't know.
I mean, I know. I read it.
I know you do.
So, Batman the Gift is the number 45. Tom King was the script. Tony S. Daniel did the art. John Livesay did the inking assist. Tomeo Mori was the colorist. Clayton Cowles was the letterer. Check it out. Seriously. It's really good. Especially if you're into different stuff. Okay.
One of my favorite books that I actually read for this week is...
Are you saying you didn't read the other ones, or just making stuff up, huh?
I said one of my favorite books that I read this week.
Not a good look. Not a good look.
I didn't say I didn't read books. I said one of my favorites that I read.
I know.
Your argument is invalid. Anyway.
My arguments are never invalid.
Image. Skyward. Number 1.
My low G life.
My low G life. This comic kind of caught my eye mostly because the art is beautiful. It is seriously gorgeously drawn, and the colors are beautiful and bright and just really airy. Does that make sense?
Well, it makes sense, especially for the book.
Is that a pun? Did I just make an...
You are pun-believable.
Hey! That pun was porgfict. Hey! Okay.
I think we can cancel the show after this. It's not going to get any better than that. We'll just take a bow and just, play the Seinfeld bass thing. That'll be
Hi guys, that's it. The show's done. I'm going home. Okay, well, with this book, it starts out normal world, normal life, and then, what did they call it? It was like the G-Day happens.
Yeah, G-Day happens.
Gravity gets a little odd.
To the point that there ain't gravity anymore.
Yeah, to the point where everyone just kind of floats away.
Yeah, which is extremely scary at first as people start really floating away.
Yeah.
Like, all the way
a little
away.
Tragic. Like...
Yeah, so they don't break down the entire science of it yet.
No.
But
I'm sure they will.
The first issue is really cool,
It is really cool. It's really interesting seeing how they kind of work in this life, and I'm not normally one for, like, 20 years later. I don't like time jumps, but this one does a time jump,
10
and it
years
works.
later.
And it's like, the time jump follows the baby at the beginning to her kind of adult life, and she doesn't even know what a crosswalk sign is. She's like, what is this? This is so weird.
Yeah, I mean, they're all used to just flying around and bouncing off stuff and, attaching themselves to buildings and things. And, they start talking about, it brings up the idea of, like, people who've been raised in a no-G society.
Yeah.
Would they want gravity back? Because in this thing, they've learned to fly, essentially.
Yeah.
And, a
They
lot of these guys love it.
Basically anywhere they want, but they have to be very careful, because that's the thing, is it's extremely dangerous. You lose your gripping,
if you get knocked off something or whatever, you lose
you're
your
gone.
weights, you're gonna... You'll float away.
And they even make a reference about how they don't use guns, because if you know how non-gravity situations work, a gun is literally just going to propel you backwards.
Right.
And that's so dangerous, and it kind of deals with how this world is so dangerous, but she doesn't realize it, because this is the only world she's ever lived in.
Well, I mean, she knows it's dangerous, but she's
But she doesn't know
that typical
to what
young
point.
young person confidence of, I'm invincible. So
It's so interesting. The art and color and everything is beautiful. It's so well written. I'm excited for the next issue. Like, this is my copy. Like, I bought this copy. This is mine. I'm so excited for the next issue. I'm excited to see where it goes and, like, kind of learn the science behind how this all happened.
So you're all about that low G life, then?
Yes, I am.
John Henderson was the writer. Lee Garbett was the artist. Antonio Fabela was the colorist. Simon Boland was the letterer. Yeah, great stuff. Great stuff so far.
Beautiful.
Great stuff.
I'm so happy with this book.
Check it out.
Hey, that's my copy. Give it.
Whatevs. All right. One of the new books from Aftershock Comics is Her Infernal Descent. I read this Tuesday. It's very much like Paradise Lost. In fact, it's almost exactly like Paradise Lost, only in now, where this woman, it hints at something tragic happened to her family, and she is now journeying essentially into hell, following this one person in to see. They make hints that her family is in hell for some reason. So she meets she comes to the River Styx and meets the boatmen and stuff like that, and she's got a guide. It even has, like, direct quotes from, like, Milton. Like, some of the characters in there are quoting Milton's Paradise Lost. At first I was like, this has kind of been done to death. But the more it went on, the more I'm like, this is actually really interesting, and I really enjoyed it. And Aftershock continues to do stuff that, like, Image used to do. It's no slight against Image, but it's nice to see another company out there that's letting creators kind of do these big ideas and not worrying so much about, like, okay, well, it didn't sell, so kick rocks or whatever. Instead, they're allowing them to do at least one full story arc and then go from there. So Aftershock continues a good run of books, including, like, Dark Arc and Animosity and stuff. So yeah, I would check this out if you're a fan of like darker horror stuff, or even stuff that's a little more literary. This book would definitely be for you. And the art's very, very good. But if you're like a history buff, or even if you're like really in like Paradise Lost or John Milton and things like that, I think you'd probably enjoy this.
You said it's River Styx, and it's obvious that's Charon, the soul fairy.
Yeah, I couldn't remember the name.
Charon.
Terrible
I'm
names.
a huge Greek myth. I mean, I'm literally wearing my Percy Jackson Camp Half-Blood t-shirt right now. I'm a huge Greek mythology nerd. I want to know if the underworld is based off of Erebus, the
you
Greek
can read
underworld.
it in your own time.
I'm gonna have to. I gotta know.
Yeah, at one point in time, it's funny because she runs into Edgar Allan Poe, and then she runs into a guy, and she doesn't say his name, but just by the character design, I could tell that it was David Foster Wallace, which I was like, wow, that's a deep cut right there, man. If you've ever read David Foster Wallace, he was a genius, and he wrote a gigantic book called Infinite Jest, which is just out there, and it's one of the greatest things ever written, but it's a slog. And unfortunately, he lost his battle with depression a long time ago, and he took his own life. So it kind of makes sense, some of the people that she runs into in hell, if you're believing that stuff, So it's super interesting. Yeah, definitely check it out if you're a fan of that stuff.
I'm gonna have to check that out because it looks like it's designed after Erebus.
Lonnie Nadler and Zach Thompson were the co-creators and writers. Kyle Charles is a co-creator and artist. Dee Cuniff is the colorist. Ryan Ferrier is the letterer. So yeah, Aftershock, another good book.
Woo! Aftershock has been doing really well recently.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, they don't sell 1,000,001 issues or anything, but
they're holding their own really well.
Yeah, but like the word of mouth, and like we've been starting to stock more Aftershock trade paperbacks now, which is really good. Wow, I picked that up.
Yeah.
You can see the wave. It's like, okay.
Knuckles feel like they're about to like blow off.
Yeah, we've been stocking more of the trade paperbacks, and people have been starting to pick them up, which is great. So like that's how companies keep it moving. Got to keep it moving. So anyway, though, that is your Warp 9 wrap up for this week. If you got any questions, anything like that, you can always email us at extrasecretgaming@gmail.com. Otherwise, head on over to the Extra Secret Podcast iTunes, on the iTunes, if you want more of this idiot's voice, with my partner EA Henson, and we talk about whatever the hell.
If you want more of this idiot's voice, you can literally just come in on a Monday or Thursday. I'll talk to you because
it's kind of her job. She's getting
what I do.
Paid to do that. So don't feel special or anything. Anyway, though, yeah. Guess we're done, huh? All right. Guess it's time to go home.
Okay.
Bye.